From our studio in Southern California, the hotbed of car culture, covering all things automotive. Welcome to In the Garage with Dennis. Here's your host, Dennis Pitzenbarger.
Welcome to the program. It is In the Garage with Dennis. Great show lined up for you this week because I'm going to show you how you can take that classic that's sitting in the garage and make it handle like a brand new sports car. Our friend John Hotchkis from Hotchkis Sport Suspension is going to come by and show us some of the new technology that can make that old car handle like a brand new ride. We also want to invite you to check out our website, inthegaragewithdennis.com. You can follow along on our Twitter or Facebook pages, even my daily blog, and you can check out what I'm doing every day of the week. We do want to make sure and thank some of our sponsors, including Royal Purple. Also, Craftsman. America's largest modular power system is the Craftsman Bolt-On. This innovative power tool system from Craftsman brand continues the power of the 20-volt max lithium-ion battery base with 9 interchangeable attachments. So it will become the tool you need anywhere you need it. Attachments include a drill, a driver, sander, jigsaw, impact driver, oscillating multiple tool, hammer drill, router, inflator, trim saw, and which is allowing you to tackle any project around the house. Craftsman, made to make. Available at craftsman.com, Sears hometown stores, and now available at Ace Hardwares. The show starts right now. I promised you I was going to take you to the place that you can take any car you own and make it into a performance machine, whether you want to take it to the track or just take it to the local autocross. And after years of belittlement and shame on my part, I'm finally in your shop, John Hotchkis, man. Great to have you on the show.
Dennis, thank you so much for inviting yourself here, finally. No, we've talked for so long. And on the phone today, when you said you're coming down, I told everybody, yeah, sure.
Is that why everybody took off?
Everybody took off. They said, yeah, I don't believe it.
Well,
but hey, good you're here, and can't wait to tell you what we do.
You know, that's one of the things that's really interesting is to talk about what you do, and there's so much history, and I want to talk about that too. But we're in the facility that's really about R&D. This is where you make the things that make cars handle so well. You know, this is a development Mustang back here. You got a lot of stuff in the works, but kind of give me the overlay of where we're standing.
Well, this is really the heart of the heartbeat of the company, and the fact that where it's this Mustang, there's a C10 truck, we've got race car restoration, but it's all about how to make something handle. And classic muscle cars. You know, they look cool, they're getting really expensive now, so you know, if you put a big money paint job, good wheels, tires, trans, and everything else, a lot of people forget about the suspension. You want to put the good suspension on it so the car really works, so you get the best of both worlds. Great classic looks, but modern handling. I mean, we can make one of these old Mustangs handle better than a new one. Yeah, and that's what people want. They want to drive them. They don't want no more doily cars. I mean, I appreciate the guys that go to Barrett-Jackson and spend, you know, 6 figures on a brand new car and then wipe it with a diaper, but that's not what you guys are about. And I was looking at some of your R&D area back here, and the thing that really I think is special too is you guys, it's really an in-house. It's the family. From your engineers to your fabricators. I mean, there's nothing that you don't do right here in Southern California. Absolutely. Well, we're proud of the fact that everything is made in Southern California. You know, we're made in the USA. Everything is developed here. We do the manufacturing about a mile away. And so it's, as I tell in the team, I said, if you can think about it, let's see if we can make it. And so we'll try it, and some things don't work in racing, some things don't work, and you know, we have a full trash can of stuff that didn't work, but hey, you know, we get around, we do the road testing, we get the cars right, we do a lot of track testing, track days, because you're right, I mean, well, when I started, and how many car shows have you been to, where it's just, you know, you sit in a lawn chair, and the guy's got a book, and you go through and hear how it was, and well, do you ever drive it? No, I put it on a trailer. But no way, you have to get out and drive it and really enjoy the thing. So that's what we're all about.
Well, I want to take a few steps around the entire facility today. One, I think we're going to go back in a little bit of time, how much racing history you have in your family. And, you know, I've been looking around here, and you have everything from, like you said, race car restorations to, I don't know if you noticed what I saw over here. I was giving you a hard time.
Can't wait.
You're like a historian. You know when the last time I saw 14-inch BFG radial TAs on a set of tires? I don't know how long ago it was, but you know what it was? It was about 10 minutes ago now.
We have some here.
I saw them over here. So let's do this. Let's take a walk around the shop, check out the manufacturing, everything that you do here as far as a business, and then I'm going to peek behind the curtain of Oz, because I saw some stuff under some covers back here that I know you're going to let me peek at. And a little later after that, we certainly have a car we got to go take a rip around the block in.
Absolutely. I look forward to showing you. So let's go for it.
Okay, now the question is, are you going to let me drive it?
You bet.
Before we take a peek around the Hotchkis shop and see what John's going to show me behind the curtain, I want to talk about one of our sponsors, Holley. On the track or on the street, the #1 brand for performance is Holley. You've heard about the Ultra Street Avengers, Ultra Double Pumpers, Ultra HP and HP Dominator carburetors. They're ultra light, ultra cool, and ultra fast. Holley carbs are the most powerful carburetors you can buy with no further modifications. Holley, winning performance for over 100 years. All right, the first car I want to talk about is this Paul Newman car. Now, I have watched him race all the way back to my first IndyCar weekend, which was actually kart at the Portland 200. And he was out there in his classic livery. But this car is really special, man. Tell me about it.
It is really special. It's a 1984 Paul Newman Trans Am 300ZX. And what's so awesome about this, we are going to restore this. We'll take it down to the frame, straighten the frame, and then build it back up, and it'll race at the Monterey Historics next year. This is, as you know, this is my era of racing, and this is when designers, aerodynamicists, everybody, there was free reign.
It was the Wild West.
It was really the Wild West. I mean, electronics, everything was not so standardized as it is now, and you couldn't just buy everything, so you had to make it all. And some people who worked on this car and designed it were just geniuses at the time. So it's really fun to peel away the layers and see, what's there, and there's a lot to it, so it's going to be a fun 8-month project.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it on the track, and I would love to be up on the hill watching this thing go down through the corkscrew, because I'm looking at some of the design and the front carrier and everything. I mean, that's just, you're like you said, man, I mean, there was a genius out there with an engineering degree, but I don't know how they made that work, but I know this car did work at the time.
It is true, and what's also so cool about this is just it exudes history, and with Paul Newman, I mean, he did so much for our sport and Indy cars. He raced in Trans Am, GT1. I even got to drive with him at Daytona.
Really?
And in the Porsche 962, we'll show you in a bit. But we did a vintage race together, and spending the weekend with Paul Newman driving was out of this world.
That's cool. Well, let's take a look over some other things, including those tires I was talking about.
Oh, yes, I know. On your left, we have some artifacts.
On my left, you will see artifacts from a time gone by.
Look at the tread.
I mean, I can't believe these are not checkered out. I mean, BF Goodrich 195 6014s. I mean, this was a huge tire when I was in high school. This was like, you got 60 series on your car on 14s? Wow. I mean, then it was like 15s. Now it's gone out of control, but there is something very cool about it.
And having radial TAs. I mean, that was just, you couldn't get, actually, one side was white wall, the other side was black, and so are you going to go cool white wall or black wall? And
were you a white wall guy or black wall?
Oh, back then, white wall, of course.
Of course. All right, let's go this way, because when we're walking through here, obviously, it's really neat to see, the development area within the building. Obviously, you got things like, this is one of the, now this is a 911 engine or not?
No, it's a Porsche 962 engine.
Oh, this is one of the 962s, okay.
And we just took that out of mothballs, restored it, refreshed it, and so it's ready to race.
Amazing. Now, these were what, 2.7 liters?
3.2.
3.2.
3.2 single turbo, air-cooled. And very similar to the street engine, but a real race engine.
You know what we used to call these motors and these cars? We used to call them doctor killers, because doctors went out and bought 930 turbos. They'd go flying into a corner, they'd lift throttle, that thing would come around, and guess what? There's a doctor off a cliff. Mulholland, I'm sure the roads around here. Now, this is going behind the magic curtain of Oz, and I know a lot about your history and a lot about your company. I just don't know where I skipped this chapter and how I skipped this chapter. This is an icon of racing. This car was 15 years ahead of its time when it was racing at its height. Then 15 years after its, pinnacle of racing, it's still a piece of art that can literally dominate anything on the racetrack.
We were very lucky. My father started a race team back in the mid-'80s and raced a March Porsche, and he was in IMSA. Actually, I grew up going to IMSA races, and so back in the early 70s, we would go to Lime Rock and Talladega and Daytona, Sebring, everywhere. And I'll show you a car in a moment that I really learned how to work on cars. But this was a grand plan of his to have a race team, and we worked on it together. And he acquired the sponsorship, and we raced at Daytona, Sebring. They raced it all over for 4 years in IMSA, and so it's a real Porsche motorsports car. And then, but it also had a second life, so we raced it in HSR in vintage racing back from 1997 to 2001. So it was cool to be in the era of GTP with the Nissans, Jaguars, Toyotas, and everything else.
Yeah.
And we did really well. We finished 4th at Sebring 1 year, 3rd at Daytona in the 24 hours. We're always one of the best independent teams. And so to be able to drive this car, I mean, dream come true. Very lucky.
And these cars, and from talking to several people in my very lucky career to be in the media, these cars were not forgiving. There was nothing forgiving about them. They were fast, but they were such at the edge all the time. When these were racing, you know, at the pinnacle of their, I guess, the model's career, these cars were, I mean, they were so fast at the time, there was no room for error. This to me would be like the automotive racing equivalent of my CR500, which is literally you lit a fuse on a bottle rocket, and then when that powder took off, it was off, man. But yeah, these things produced what, 750 horsepower?
750 horsepower, and you could produce over 700 horsepower for 24 hours, Daytona 24 hours. I mean, I think it would, you know, you drive by head temperature and intake temperature and so on, but I mean, it produced a lot of power for a long time. And no, it was there's still, this era is one of the eras that people look back and say, now that was cool.
Yeah. Now there's one more car we got to look at. It's in your showroom. Let's go take a peek at that. Now, we talked about Dr. Killers. This is the foundation of the Dr. Killer. When you take a car that was already literally about as angry a car to drive on the planet if there ever was one, which was a turbo 911. These cars, I mean, again, aerodynamics played such a role in these cars, but you got to give me the backstory, because this is living art.
This is a 1973 real Porsche RSR, and my father and his partner Bob Kirby bought it in 1976. Prepared it in Anaheim, Dennis and Randy Ossie, who were still great names in motorsports and so on, and really built it or updated it in Anaheim. It took a boat to Brussels and on to Le Mans, and the three of them finished the race. And
with what, like one engine and like a couple
they had
tires?
One engine, a couple of sets of tires. I mean, it was kind of the way to go racing. You know, when luck was on your side. A lot of guts.
Yeah.
And
is there a car that you would pick out of all of these that you could drive only just that car? Would it be maybe one of your street cars, or would it be, okay, if I can't drive one of my own street cars and I got to drive Grandma's Buick, I'm going to take this car to the track or that 962?
That's a really tough question, because I think if I asked you that also, you'd say, well, I'd like a little piece of this car, a little bit of that one.
Oh, I know how tough the question is. I knew I threw you a big old bone there. I was like, let's see if he handles that. Because I don't know if I could choose. I mean, because this car, I think, would be a little easier to drive on a regular basis than the 962. There's more involved with that car.
It's much easier in every aspect. We have the car that is not here, but it is... we've been running it for the last 4 years as our 70 TA Challenger.
That car's awesome.
It is awesome with a six-pack, 340, just screams. And
you drive it hard too. If I remember correctly, Mo Party at the Strip. What did you tear out of it? The oil pump.
Yeah.
The oil pump tore the oil pump, and you didn't just it didn't just get like a little bit broke. Like, you tore it up. I mean, the car was worked.
We've done everything with that. That car has more autocross laps and more demo laps than anything I can imagine. But I'll show you a car that really is near and dear to my heart outside.
Okay.
And you got to see this. It's the first Camaro, actually first car at all to have an LS engine in it.
When I'm not trying to convince John to let me drive one of these Porsches, I'm also thinking about car care. Royal Purple's HPS is recommended for vehicles no longer under warranty and for those seeking a higher level of performance and protection. It's fortified with a high level of ZDDP, anti-wear additive, and Royal Purple's proprietary additive technology, Centerlink. Independent tests have shown that HPS outperforms leading synthetic and conventional oils for all gasoline and diesel engines. Now, one of the things I'm going to do right now is go burn up some gasoline in John's Camaro. All right, we're outside. This car's got particular history with your company. Now, you built it in 1999, correct?
Absolutely. And, you know, you asked me about which cars are kind of near and dear to my heart. This one is absolutely. We built this in 1999. It did 2 power tours on the cover of all the major magazines. Had 315s in the rear, 2 75s in front, LS motor with a 6-speed, which was, I mean, we had no idea. We were bench racing like what we always do. We start talking.
Of course.
And this project just started evolving, and then it soon became a tornado. And so we were talking to GM Performance Parts about this LS engine, and it wasn't really known that you could use it in aftermarket. And so this is the very first application of an LS1 in a car other than what GM was doing at the time.
And it's amazing that, you know, a lot of people back then, they were not, you know, all that big of a fan of the LS motor. I mean, it was kind of like, this is a car that truly was leaping forward in what could really almost be looked at like a crystal ball of what is now everybody's goal, is to stick at LS1 or an LS3 or LS7 and anything they can bolt it into.
I was in a conversation about 10 years ago or more with this car, and another editor from a major magazine walked over and said, you know what, LSs are going to take over from small blocks in 10 years. And he was right.
It's amazing. What we got to do now is my favorite part of this show, is we got to go for a drive. So hang tight. We're going to jump in this thing, and we'll just see.
Let me twist your arm.
Oh, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. All right, this is, like I said, one of the coolest things about being a part of the show, but it's also why it's so special to make sure that I give a thanks to John and his entire team here, because if it wasn't for the friends in the industry, I wouldn't get to drive stuff like this. So without further ado, I'm going to go have some fun and hopefully not lose my license. Right?
Right.
All right, okay. All right, John, here's the deal. There's sayings in the world like the ball don't lie and put your money where your mouth is. And I've been around a lot of your cars, and I've taken even some crazy rides with your drivers, but to actually drive a car that was not only one of the original LS motor engineering cars, but to have your full package on it, man, the ball ain't gonna lie this time. I mean, it's just amazing what these cars can do and what you've done with them. I can't thank you enough.
Well, now you've been here finally, and I'm really glad you did. And you can see what we're all about, because there's nothing better than just actually seeing it, but then driving it.
Yeah, it really does. Listen, you want to know what this guy does for real? Hotchkis.net. By the way, if you go there and you buy his products, you'll see your name as long as you keep practicing Rise on the autocross chart, and I know he'll help you do it. Thank you so much for having us come by.
Thank you.
If you want to know more about what we're doing, go to inthegaragewithdennis.com. You can check out our Facebook and Twitter page, even my daily blog, and I can tell you this, I got some pictures of me smiling in this car right here. Until the next episode, we'll see you soon.